She boarded the westbound train with a broken rib and $37 in cash, not knowing the man in seat 14B controlled half the underground economy on the East Coast. Within 12 hours, her husband's men would find her body, or so they thought. How it started? Let me take you back. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. The fluorescent lights of Penn Station burned Emma Hayes' eyes as she limped through the crowd, one hand pressed against her bruised ribs, the other clutching a single canvas bag containing everything she'd managed to grab before David came home. 26 years old, and she was running for her life from the man who'd promised to love her forever. The station clock read 11:47 p.m. Her train, the last one heading west, departed at midnight. 13 minutes. Emma kept her head down, brown hair falling across the purple bruise blooming on her cheekbone. She'd applied makeup, but under these lights nothing could hide what he'd done. Again. For the last time, she told herself. This was the last time. The ticket agent barely glanced at her as she slid her credit card across the counter. "One way to Chicago," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The card declined. Emma's stomach dropped. David had frozen their accounts. Of course he had. He always knew, always planned 3 steps ahead. That's what made him so good at his job as a corporate lawyer and so dangerous at home. "Cash only," the agent said, not unkindly. Emma pulled out the crumpled bills. $37 total, stolen from David's jacket pocket while he'd been passed out drunk 3 hours ago. The agent counted it twice. "This'll get you as far as Pittsburgh." Pittsburgh, not Chicago, not California, not anywhere far enough. But it was something. Emma took the ticket with shaking hands. 11 minutes. She made it to the platform just as they called for boarding. The train stretched before her like salvation, silver cars gleaming under the station lights. Emma chose a car toward the back, away from the conductor, away from eyes that might remember her face when David came asking questions. The seats were half empty at this hour. Business travelers heading home, a few college students with headphones, and elderly couples sleeping against each other. Emma slid into seat 14A by the window, pressed her forehead against the cool glass, and tried not to cry. That's when she noticed him. The man in 14B didn't look at her when the train lurched forward. But Emma felt his presence like electricity. Tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair swept back from a face that belonged in magazines or movies. Expensive suit, the kind David used to envy. 3-piece, tailored perfectly, probably cost more than her entire wedding had. And hands, she noticed his hands, broad and strong, with a silver ring on his right index finger that caught the light. He was reading something on his phone, completely absorbed, but there was a quality to his stillness that made Emma nervous. Like a predator at rest, Emma forced herself to look away, to focus on the darkness rushing past the window as the train picked up speed. Penn Station fell behind. The city lights began to thin. She was leaving. She was actually leaving. Her phone buzzed. 23 missed calls from David, 14 voicemails, 41 texts, each one more threatening than the last. Emma's hands trembled as she powered it off completely. She'd buy a burner phone in Pittsburgh. "Start over. Disappear. You running from someone?" The voice was smooth, educated, with the faintest trace of something Emma couldn't place. New York, but old New York. Money and power. She jerked her head toward 14B. Up close, his eyes were dark gray, almost silver in the dim train lighting. He'd set his phone down and was watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Excuse me?" Emma tried to sound offended, but her voice cracked. "The bruise on your face." The man gestured slightly. "The way you keep checking behind you. The fact that you chose the back of the train and a window seat with a view of everyone entering the car." He leaned back, crossing his legs. "You're either running from someone or you're about to commit a crime. Given the terror in your eyes, I'm guessing the former." Emma's heart hammered. "I don't know what you're talking about." His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Lying's harder than most people think. Your left eye twitches when you do it." Emma's hand flew to her eye. "Damn it." "For what it's worth," he continued, picking up his phone again as if they were discussing the weather, "you made the right choice. Staying would have gotten you killed eventually. Men like whoever did that," he nodded at her bruise, "they escalate. They don't stop until they destroy what they claim to love." The casual accuracy of his words shook her. "Who are you?" "Someone who recognizes a similar situation when he sees one." He extended his hand. "Marcus." Emma hesitated, then took it. Emma. His grip was firm, warm, and surprisingly gentle. "Well," Emma, since we're going to be traveling companions for the next few hours, you should know that the credit card you tried to use at the ticket counter triggered an alert. Your husband, David Hayes, is a lawyer with Crimson and Associates, correct? Emma's blood turned to ice. How do you know that? Marcus pulled out his phone, showed her the screen. There was her driver's license photo, her name, David's contact information. Below it, a message. Reward, $10,000 for information leading to the location of Emma Hayes, missing as of tonight. Considered mentally unstable and potentially dangerous. Your husband posted this alert 20 minutes after you boarded. I have people who monitor these channels. Marcus's voice was calm, matter of fact. Took me 30 minutes to pull your background while you were sitting here. Corporate databases, public records, social media. When you're in my line of work, information moves fast. Mentally unstable. The lie David would tell to everyone, to the police, to her family. The lie that would make them help him find her. He's already mobilizing, Marcus said quietly. By the time this train reaches Pittsburgh, there will be people waiting. His people. Lawyers have connections, investigators, resources. Emma couldn't breathe. Her chest was tight, ribs screaming. She'd gotten on this train thinking she was escaping, but she'd just trapped herself in a metal tube traveling in a straight line. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. I need to get off, she gasped. Next stop. I need to... And go where? Marcus interrupted. With $37 and a maxed-out credit card? He watched her reaction. Yes, I know about the money, too. You think I just happened to be sitting in 14B tonight? Emma's entire body went rigid. You're working for David. Marcus laughed, a low, genuine sound that seemed at odds with the situation. God, no. If I worked for your husband, you'd already be unconscious and on your way back to him. I work for myself. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. And I'm offering you a deal. I don't have anything you want, don't you? His eyes traveled over her face, assessing. You're smart enough to run, brave enough to do it with broken ribs, and desperate enough to get on a train to nowhere with pocket change. That kind of survival instinct is rare. Valuable. He paused. I'm heading to New York, real New York. Not the Manhattan your husband knows, but the parts that run underneath. The machinery that keeps this city functioning when the lights go out. You're a criminal, Emma said flatly. Marcus smiled. That's one word for it. Businessman is another. Provider of services people can't get through legal channels. But let's not dance around it. Yes, I operate outside the law, and yes, I'm offering you protection. Why would you help me? Because, Marcus said, pulling out a leather wallet and counting out bills, your husband's message about you being mentally unstable. It went out on channels he shouldn't have access to. Channels that belong to people I don't like. People who've been moving into my territory, using lawyers and legitimate businesses as fronts. He handed her $500 bills. David Hayes just became interesting to me. And you, Emma, you're the key to understanding what he's really involved in. Emma stared at the money. $500. More than she'd seen in months. David controlled everything, every penny, every purchase. This was freedom, even if it came from a stranger who admitted to being a criminal. What do you want from me? She asked carefully. Information about your husband's business dealings, his clients, his connections. He stood, buttoning his jacket. And in exchange, you get protection, a place to stay, and a chance to actually disappear. Not Pittsburgh with $37, real disappearance, new identity, new city, enough money to start over. Emma looked out the window at the darkness rushing past, then back at Marcus, at his expensive suit and cold eyes, at the quiet confidence of someone who'd made this offer before. She thought about David, about the last 3 years of her life, about the woman she'd been before she'd said, I do. You promise he won't find me? Marcus held her gaze. I promise that if he tries, he'll regret it more than anything he's ever done. The train whistle blew as they approached the first stop. Emma had 60 seconds to decide. Get off and take her chances with $37 and David's hunters on her trail, or trust a criminal who'd somehow known exactly where she'd be. She thought about the bruises, the broken rib, the fear that had become her constant companion. Emma stood up, grabbed her bag, and looked Marcus Dante straight in the eye. What happens when we get to New York? Marcus smiled, and for the first time, it reached his eyes. Then we discuss exactly how we're going to destroy your husband's life. The train slowed as it pulled into Newark, 40 minutes from Penn Station. Marcus guided Emma off, his hand at her back, protective and possessive at once. Change of plans, he said as they descended to the platform. Brooklyn's closer, and David's people will be watching Pittsburgh by morning. A black car waited in the pickup zone. Kenjin running. This way. Emma hesitated at the top of the stairs. This is really happening. Yes, Marcus said. It is. Last chance to change your mind. Emma thought about David waking up, discovering her gone, making those calls. Thought about the $37 that wouldn't even get her breakfast tomorrow. Thought about the bruises that still throbbed with every breath. She descended the stairs and got into the car. Behind them, somewhere in the darkness, David Hayes was making phone calls, leveraging connections, preparing to hunt. He had no idea he'd just lost the game before it started, because Emma Hayes hadn't just found protection on that train. She'd found something far more dangerous, an ally who played by different rules entirely, and Marcus Dante never lost. The safe house sat in Brooklyn, tucked between a bodega and a dry cleaner that looked like it hadn't opened since 1987. Marcus led Emma up 3 flights of stairs to an apartment that smelled faintly of coffee and something expensive Emma couldn't quite identify. Nice, Emma said, setting her canvas bag down. She took in the exposed brick walls, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the street, the furniture that managed to look both comfortable and like it cost more than her car. This is where you bring all the women you rescue? Marcus locked the door behind them. 3 separate locks, Emma noticed. You're the first. Usually I'm the one people run from, not to. It was 4 in the morning. They'd gotten off the train at Newark, switched to a car Marcus had waiting, driven through streets Emma didn't recognize while he made phone calls in what sounded like Italian. Now they were here, wherever here was. Safe, Marcus had promised. Untraceable. Emma walked to the window, careful of her ribs. The city stretched out below, still alive even at this hour. Yellow cabs, delivery trucks, people living lives that didn't involve broken bones and escape plans. Tell me about David, Marcus said behind her. Start from the beginning. Emma turned. He'd removed his jacket, loosened his tie. In the soft light from the floor lamps, he looked younger than she'd first thought. Early 30s, maybe. Tired, definitely. Like someone who didn't sleep much. We met in law school, Emma began. Columbia. He was brilliant, charming, the kind of guy everyone wanted to be around. Her voice hardened. I didn't see the other side until after we were married. When did it start? Emma hugged herself, suddenly cold despite the warmth of the apartment. Small things at first. He'd criticize what I wore, how I talked to his colleagues, said he was helping me fit into his world. Then it was controlling the money, tracking my phone, showing up at my work unexpectedly. She met Marcus's eyes. The first time he hit me was 6 months after the wedding. I'd made dinner plans with a friend without asking his permission first. Permission, Marcus repeated, his voice flat. He said marriage was about respect, that I needed to learn my place. Emma laughed bitterly. I believed him for longer than I should have. Thought if I could just be better, do better, he'd go back to being the man I married. But that man never existed. It was all performance. Marcus was silent for a long moment. Then he walked to the kitchen, poured 2 glasses of something amber from a crystal decanter, and handed her one. Whiskey, he said. Good for shock. Emma drank. It burned wonderfully. Why do you care? She asked. About any of this? You don't know me. Marcus leaned against the counter, studying her. True. But I know men like David. Men who use fear and control because they're weak underneath. They're predictable, manageable. He smiled slightly. And you intrigue me. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting tonight. He checked his phone. You need sleep. Bedroom's through there. Door locks from the inside. Bathroom stocked. My associate will bring clothes and necessities tomorrow. Where will you be? Emma asked, suddenly uncertain. I have work, Marcus said. This city doesn't sleep, and neither do I. He caught her expression. You're safe here, Emma. This building is owned by someone who owes me considerably. The neighbors mind their business, and no one, he emphasized, knows you're here except me. Emma wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. What about David? We'll deal with David. Marcus's expression hardened. But first, I need you to tell me about his clients, particularly any that seemed unusual. Cash payments, offshore accounts, meetings he wouldn't discuss. Emma frowned. How do you know about any of that? Because lawyers like David don't just stumble onto channels that reach into my world. Someone connected him. Someone's using him as a front. Marcus pushed off the counter. That someone is moving into territory I've spent 10 years building. They're using legitimate businesses, legal firms to launder money and broker deals, And I want to know who they are. The pieces clicked together. You're using me. Marcus didn't flinch. Yes, but in exchange you get what you want. Freedom, safety, revenge if you're interested. He tilted his head. Are we clear? Emma should have been angry, should have felt manipulated, but instead she felt something like relief. This was transactional, honest in its way. Marcus wasn't pretending to be a savior. He wanted something, and he was offering fair trade. Crystal clear, Emma said. I'll tell you everything I know. Good. Get some sleep. We'll talk more tomorrow. Marcus headed for the door, then paused. Emma? Yeah? You did the right thing. Running. Surviving. His eyes held hers. Don't let anyone ever make you question that. He left, and Emma stood alone in the beautiful apartment, clutching her whiskey glass, and wondering what kind of deal she'd just made with the devil. The bedroom was stunning. King-sized bed with white linens, abstract art on the walls, windows that overlooked the Brooklyn Bridge in the distance. Emma locked the door, stripped off her clothes carefully, mindful of her ribs, and stepped into the shower. The water was perfect, hot and strong. Emma stood under it until her fingers wrinkled, washing away the last 3 years, the fear and pain and helplessness. When she finally emerged, she caught sight of herself in the floor-length mirror. The bruises were worse than she'd thought, purple and yellow across her ribs, finger marks on her upper arms, the fresh one on her cheekbone. Emma touched each one, cataloguing them like evidence, because that's what they were, evidence of what David had done, of what she'd survived. She found clothes laid out on the bed, soft cotton pajamas that fit perfectly. How had Marcus known her size? Emma decided she didn't want to know. She crawled under the covers, and despite everything, despite the impossibility of her situation, she fell asleep within minutes. Dreamless. Safe. She woke to sunlight streaming through the windows and the smell of coffee. Emma's internal clock said it was late. Past noon. She'd slept for 8 hours straight, longer than she had in months. The bedroom door was still locked. Emma opened it cautiously and found the apartment empty, except for a note on the kitchen counter in sharp, masculine handwriting. Coffee's fresh, food in the fridge, don't leave the apartment. Sophia will arrive at 2 p.m. with clothes and a phone. Emma poured coffee into an expensive ceramic mug and explored the apartment more carefully. The living room held bookshelves filled with first editions, leather-bound classics mixed with contemporary thrillers. No photographs, no personal items. Like a hotel room decorated by someone with excellent taste and no life. The second bedroom was locked. Emma was studying the books when someone knocked. 3 quick raps. She checked the time. Exactly 2 p.m. Through the peephole, Emma saw a woman in her late 20s, blonde, beautiful, carrying shopping bags from stores Emma recognized, but had never been able to afford. Sophia, Emma called through the door. That's me. The voice was warm, friendly. Marcus sent me. Emma opened the door slowly. Sophia swept in, bringing energy and the scent of expensive perfume. She dropped the bags on the couch and looked Emma over with frank assessment. He wasn't kidding about the bruises. Sophia said, "Those look painful." "They're healing," Emma said defensively. "Good." Sophia started unpacking bags. She'd brought multiple sizes, quickly assessed Emma with a professional eye, and pulled out the correct ones. "Occupational skill," she said with a smile. "Jeans, sweaters, underwear, shoes, all perfect fits." Plus, she handed over a small box burner phone. "Untraceable. Only has Marcus's number programmed in." "Who are you?" Emma asked. Sophia's smile was sharp. "I'm the person who makes sure Marcus's operations run smoothly. Administrative assistant would be the corporate term, but that doesn't quite cover it." She pulled out makeup. "Now sit. Let me show you how to cover those bruises so David's face isn't the first thing anyone sees when they look at you." For the next hour, Sophia worked magic with foundation and concealer while asking questions that seemed casual but weren't. What did David do for work? Who were his partners? Did he travel? Did he have a safe at home? Emma answered everything, surprised by how much she'd observed, how many details she'd filed away during 3 years of trying to be invisible. "You're smart," Sophia said, studying her work. "Most people in your situation wouldn't have noticed half of this." "I studied business before law school," Emma admitted. "Corporate finance, I was good at it. David wanted me to quit, stay home." She paused, then continued. "David underestimated me. He'd bring work home, leave his laptop open, take calls in the next room thinking I was too scared to pay attention. But I have a degree in corporate finance." I understood what I was seeing. Sophia's eyes sharpened with interest. Go on. I started photographing documents 6 months ago, Emma said quietly, storing them in a cloud account he didn't know about. Insurance, I told myself. I didn't know what kind, but I knew I'd need it eventually. Contracts, client names, account numbers, everything I could capture when he was in the shower or passed out drunk. Sophia set down the makeup brush. Does Marcus know about this? Not yet, Emma said. Should he? Sophia smiled, dangerous and pleased. Oh, absolutely. She stepped back, satisfied with her work. Look. Emma turned to the mirror. The bruise was gone, hidden perfectly. She looked like herself again, like the woman she'd been before David. Thank you, Emma whispered. Sophia squeezed her shoulder. You did the hard part. Running. Everything else is just details. She checked her phone. Marcus wants to see you tonight. Dinner? He's sending a car at 8. Dinner? Emma's pulse quickened. Is this business or... Sophia's smile was knowing. With Marcus, it's always business. But sometimes business comes with nice wine and better conversation. She headed for the door, then paused. One more thing, David filed a missing persons report this morning. Said you're mentally unstable, possibly suicidal. Police are looking, but Marcus has friends who'll make sure the search stays cold. Emma's stomach twisted. My family. He contacted them. They're worried. Sophia's expression softened. If you want to reach out, let me know. I can arrange something safe. I can arrange. Not yet, Emma said. They'll try to convince me to come back. They always believe him over me. Sophia nodded, understanding. When you're ready, then. She left, and Emma was alone again with her coffee, her new clothes, and the knowledge that David was actively hunting her. But tonight she'd have dinner with Marcus Dante, the dangerous man who'd offered her protection and demanded information in return. Emma looked at herself in the mirror, at the face without bruises, and made a decision. She wasn't just going to survive, she was going to win. Whatever that meant in Marcus's world, she'd figure it out, because Emma Hayes had been underestimated her entire life. But she'd spent 3 years watching, learning, storing information about David's business dealings, his connections, his secrets. She'd been a prisoner gathering intelligence. Now she was a weapon, and Marcus Dante had just armed her. The question was, what would happen when he realized she was as dangerous as he was? The restaurant was the kind of place Emma had only read about in magazines. No sign outside, just a black door with a brass number. Inside, soft lighting, white tablecloths, staff who moved like ghosts. The maitre d' greeted Marcus by name and led them to a private room in the back. You own this place, Emma said. It wasn't a question. Marcus held her chair. I own several restaurants. This one specializes in privacy. He sat across from her, and suddenly the table felt very small. You look better. The bruises. Sophia's talented, Emma replied, smoothing the burgundy dress Sophia had insisted she wear. Though I'm not sure fancy dinner was necessary for a business meeting. Who said this was business? Marcus's smile was slight. Maybe I wanted to feed you properly. You've lost weight. He wasn't wrong. Emma had been living on whatever David allowed, which wasn't much toward the end. Control came in many forms, and starvation was one of David's favorites. A waiter appeared with wine, poured without asking. After he left, Marcus raised his glass. To new beginnings. Emma touched hers to his, and to destroying my husband. That's the spirit, Marcus said, and Emma thought she saw approval in his eyes. They ordered. Emma let Marcus choose, didn't care what she ate. Food was fuel, and right now she had bigger concerns. Tell me about your world, she said once they were alone again. How it works. What you do. Marcus considered her. Most people don't ask. They prefer not to know. I'm not most people. No, Marcus agreed. You're not. He leaned back, studying her. I run an organization that handles services legitimate businesses can't or won't provide. Money laundering, protection, information brokering. We facilitate transactions between parties who need discretion. You're saying you're a criminal without saying you're a criminal. Emma translated. Marcus smiled. Precisely. The key is appearing legitimate. I own real estate, restaurants, tech startups, all profitable, all legal on paper. The other work happens underneath, invisible, and David somehow connected with your world, not mine specifically, but someone's. Marcus's expression hardened. There's a new player in New York. Goes by the name Castellano, though I doubt that's real. They've been using lawyers and legitimate businesses to move money, broker deals that should be coming through my channels. They're careful, smart, and they're using people like David as fronts. Emma's mind raced. David had new clients 6 months ago. High-paying, confidential. He said they were tech investors, but he wouldn't give me details. She remembered coming home late once to find David in his office, door locked, speaking in hushed tones. When she'd asked about it, he'd hit her for snooping. Tech investors, Marcus repeated. That's a popular cover. Clean money from legitimate sources. He tapped his fingers on the table. Did David ever mention names? Companies? Emma tried to remember. There was one, Zenith Holdings. They had him draft contracts, handle offshore accounts. She looked at Marcus. Does that mean anything to you? Marcus went very still. Yes, he said quietly. It means we have a problem. The first course arrived, some delicate arrangement of seafood Emma barely tasted. Marcus was distracted now, thinking. Zenith Holdings is owned by people I've been trying to identify for 2 years, he said finally. They operate through shells within shells. Impossible to trace. If David's working with them directly, he's deeper in this than I thought. Emma's heart raced. Is that bad for me? Possibly, Marcus admitted. If they think you know too much, you become a liability. The fear was back, cold and sharp. I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. Emma. Marcus's voice cut through her panic. Look at me. She did. His grey eyes were serious, focused entirely on her. I don't let people I protect get hurt, he said. That's not how I operate. But I need you to tell me everything about Zenith. Every conversation you overheard, every document you saw, every detail you remember. Emma took a shaky breath. Why should I trust you? You just admitted I'm in danger. Because the alternative is running forever, Marcus said bluntly. David's connected to people who don't stop. They have resources, reach. You think $37 and a train ticket would have saved you? He shook his head. You were a ghost the moment you left. I'm offering you the chance to become real again, by helping you take down your competition, by helping us both survive, Marcus corrected. Our interests align, Emma. You want freedom from David. I want to eliminate a threat to my operation. We work together, we both win. Emma studied him, this dangerous man who'd somehow become her only option. And if I refuse, then I'll still protect you, Marcus said. But you'll always be looking over your shoulder, always wondering if today's the day they find you. He leaned forward. I'm offering you the chance to end this. Really end it. Emma thought about David, about 3 years of abuse, about the woman she'd been before him and the woman she was becoming now. All right, she said. I'll tell you everything. For the next 2 hours, overcourses Emma barely tasted, and wine that was probably worth more than her old car, she talked. She told Marcus about David's late-night meetings, the documents she'd seen when filing papers in his office, the phone calls he'd taken in the next room thinking she was asleep. Emma had a memory for details, sharp and precise. Business school had trained her well. She recounted names, dates, amounts. Marcus listened, occasionally asking questions, his expression growing darker as the full scope of David's involvement became clear. He's in deep, Marcus said finally. Deeper than I expected. He's not just a front. He's actively facilitating major transactions. Can you use that? Emma asked. Emma. Marcus smiled. And it wasn't friendly. Oh yes, David's about to discover that being connected to Castellano's organization comes with consequences. What kind of consequences? The kind that make a man reconsider his life choices. Marcus signaled for the check, even though no check appeared. We need to move quickly. David will have noticed unusual activity by now. Accounts being monitored, questions being asked. He'll get nervous. Good, Emma said, surprising herself with the venom in her voice. Let him be terrified for once. Marcus looked at her with something like admiration. You're stronger than you know. I learned from the best, Emma said bitterly. David taught me how to hide, how to watch, how to survive. He just didn't realize I'd use those skills against him. They left the restaurant through a private exit, stepping into the cool New York night. A black car waited, Vincent at the wheel. Marcus's driver, Emma had learned. Ex-military, loyal and dangerous. Back to Brooklyn? Vincent asked. No, Marcus said, sliding in beside Emma. Midtown, the Apex. Emma recognized the name. The Apex was Manhattan's newest luxury high-rise, the kind of building that catered to billionaires and celebrities. What's at the Apex? Someone who needs to understand that Emma Hayes is under my protection, Marcus said, and that anyone who touches you will answer to me. The drive took 30 minutes. Marcus made calls in Italian. his voice low and sharp. Emma watched the city slide past, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 48 hours. 2 days ago, she'd been a prisoner in her own marriage. Now she was riding in a luxury car with a crime boss, wearing a designer dress, and plotting the destruction of her husband's life. The transformation should have terrified her. Instead, Emma felt alive for the first time in years. The Apex lobby was all marble and chrome, with staff who looked like models. Marcus led Emma to a private elevator that required a key card. They rode to the 42nd floor in silence. The doors opened directly into a penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased Manhattan in all its glittering glory. The furniture was modern, expensive, minimal. And sitting on a white leather couch, drinking scotch, was a man Emma recognized from David's office, Richard Castellano, or rather the man using that name. "Emma's," Marcus said. "This is the person you're going to help me destroy." Richard stood, his smile predatory. "So this is David Hayes's missing wife. My David always did have excellent taste in possessions." Emma's hands clenched. "I'm not a possession." "Of course not," Richard said smoothly. "You're a refugee who's made a deal with the devil to avoid her loving husband." He looked at Marcus. "Bold move, Dante. Harboring her puts you at odds with David's allies." "David has no allies," Marcus said. "He has employers. You. And you're about to discover why poaching in my territory is a mistake." Richard's smile faded. "Careful, Dante. You're not as untouchable as you think." The tension in the room was suffocating. Emma felt like a chess piece suddenly aware she was on the board. "Emma's going to testify about David's business dealings," Marcus continued. "Every transaction, every client, every illegal activity he facilitated on your behalf. The authorities will be very interested. You think I'm afraid of lawyers and judges?" Richard laughed. "I own half of them." "Not all of them," Marcus said. "And more importantly, you don't own me." He pulled out his phone, showed Richard the screen. "That's every transaction David processed for Zenith Holdings in the last year. Dates, amounts, accounts." Emma provided the details. "I have copies in 12 different locations, set to release if anything happens to either of us." Richard's face went pale. "That's not possible." "That's—" "Emma had a front-row seat to your operation for 3 years," Marcus said. "And unlike David, she's actually intelligent." He glanced at Emma with something like respect. "She knows more about your organization than you realize." Richard's eyes locked on Emma, and she saw murder there, clear and cold. Marcus stepped between them immediately. "Touch her," Marcus said quietly, "and I'll end you. Not quickly, not cleanly. I'll dismantle everything you've built piece by piece until there's nothing left but ashes." The threat hung in the air. Richard was powerful, but Marcus was something else entirely. Emma could see it in the way the other man backed down, the way his hands unclenched. "What do you want?" Richard asked finally. "Out of New York," Marcus said. "Take your operations and go. Leave my territory alone. In exchange, Emma's information stays buried, and you get to keep your empire. And David?" Marcus smiled. "David's mine." Richard looked between them, calculating. Then he drained his scotch and set the glass down with deliberate care. "Fine. You have 1 month. Then we'll revisit this conversation." It wasn't a complete surrender, but it was enough. Marcus had won the first round. They left the Apex in silence. Only when they were back in the car did Marcus speak. "That was stupid," he said, but he was smiling. "Bringing you there, letting him see you, but satisfying." Emma's hands were shaking with adrenaline. "Did we just threaten a crime boss?" "We did," Marcus confirmed. "Feel good?" Emma thought about David, about the fear in Richard's eyes, about the power she'd wielded just by existing and knowing too much. "Yeah," she said, "it really did." Marcus laughed, genuine and surprised. "You're going to be trouble, Emma Hayes." "Good," Emma replied. "I'm tired of being easy." The city lights blurred past as Vincent drove them back to Brooklyn. Emma leaned her head against the window, exhausted and exhilarated. She'd traded one dangerous man for another, but this time she was the one holding the cards, and she had no intention of folding. 3 weeks later, Emma stood in Marcus's office, watching the surveillance footage on his laptop. David was on screen leaving his law firm at midnight, looking over his shoulder every few seconds. "He's scared," Emma said. "Good." Marcus closed the laptop. "Richard Castellano left New York yesterday, took his entire operation to Miami." Emma turned. "We won?" "Phase 1, Marcus corrected. "Now comes the interesting part." During the past 3 weeks, Emma's life had transformed. She'd moved from the Brooklyn safe house to a condo in Tribeca, one of several properties Marcus owned. She had a credit card with no limit, clothes that actually fit, and freedom she'd almost forgotten existed. But more than that, she'd found purpose. Marcus had put her to work analyzing financial records, identifying patterns in Castellano's transactions. Emma's business degree came roaring back, numbers and connections that had seemed random suddenly clicking into place. She was good at this. Better than good. Exceptional, Marcus had said once, watching her work through a particularly complex shell company structure. Have you considered staying after this is over? Emma had considered it, more than she probably should. The problem was David. He was still out there, still hunting. Marcus's people kept him under surveillance, reported his movements, his increasingly desperate searches. But David hadn't been arrested yet. The evidence Emma had provided was solid, but the wheels of justice turned slowly. Too slowly for Emma's taste. I want to see him, she said now. David, I want to look him in the eye. Marcus looked up from the papers on his desk. That's a terrible idea. Probably, Emma agreed. But I need to do it anyway. Marcus studied her. The past 3 weeks had changed Emma. She'd gained weight, healthy weight. The haunted look had faded from her eyes. She stood straighter, spoke louder, didn't apologize for taking up space. She'd become the woman she was always meant to be. Why? Marcus asked. Because I'm tired of hiding, Emma said. I'm tired of letting him have power over me. She met Marcus's eyes. I need to show him he lost, that I'm not afraid anymore. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right? But my way, my location, my rules. Emma smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way. The meeting was set for the following night, at a restaurant Marcus owned in Queens. Neutral ground, heavily secured, dozens of cameras. David would come because Marcus's message had been clear. Show up or face immediate prosecution with the evidence Emma had provided. David had no choice. Emma spent the day preparing. Sophia helped her choose an outfit, severe and elegant. Black suit, heels, hair pulled back. War paint, Sophia called the makeup. You're going into battle. Emma looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back was strong, confident, powerful. Everything David had tried to destroy. Perfect, she whispered. Marcus picked her up at 7. He'd dressed carefully too, Emma noticed. 3-piece suit, dark blue, expensive. This wasn't just about Emma facing David. This was Marcus sending a message. Emma belonged to his world now, and David would never reach her again. You don't have to do this, Marcus said in the car. Yes, I do, Emma replied. They arrived at 8. The restaurant was closed to the public, just security, and Vincent stationed strategically. David was already there, sitting at a table in the center of the empty room, looking smaller than Emma remembered. He stood when she entered. Emma, thank God. I've been looking everywhere. His eyes took in her appearance, the expensive clothes, the confidence. What's happened to you? Emma sat across from him. Marcus remained standing, a silent presence at her shoulder. I left David. That's what happened. David's expression cycled through emotions. Relief, confusion, anger. You left because you're sick. You need help. His voice rose. I've been worried sick. Your family's been worried. How could you do this to us? The gaslighting was automatic, practiced. Emma had heard it 1,000 times. But now, with distance and clarity, she could see it for what it was. Manipulation. I left because you beat me, Emma said calmly. Because you controlled every aspect of my life. Because staying meant dying, slowly or quickly, but dying all the same. David's face flushed. We had problems, but I never, he looked at Marcus. Who is this? What have you told her? Marcus didn't respond. This wasn't his show. You broke my rib, David, Emma continued, 3 weeks ago. That's when I got on a train and left. She leaned forward. I have photographs. Medical records from the emergency room I visited using a fake name. Documentation of every bruise, every injury, every controlling behavior. David's lawyer instincts kicked in. That won't hold up in court. You're mentally unstable. You've always been unstable. I was trying to help you. Emma smiled. It was her turn to manipulate. You're right. I'm sure the judge will see it your way. Just like they'll see your work for Zenith Holdings as completely legitimate. David went very still. What? Oh, did I forget to mention? Emma's voice was sweet. I know about Richard Castellano. I know about the offshore accounts, the money laundering, The illegal transactions you facilitated. I documented everything, and I've given it all to the authorities. The color drained from David's face. You couldn't. That's privileged information. Not when it involves criminal activity, Emma said, and definitely not when the lawyer's wife is the one providing the evidence. She stood. You're going to prison, David, for a long time, and I'm going to watch it happen from a safe distance. David lunged across the table. Emma didn't flinch. Marcus moved faster than Emma expected, hand on David's shoulder, pressing him back into his chair with controlled force. Touch her again, Marcus said quietly, and it'll be the last thing you do. David looked up at Marcus, finally understanding. You're protecting her, he laughed, bitter and breaking. You left me for a criminal, Emma. You self-righteous hypocrite. I left you for my life, Emma corrected. Marcus gave me the tools to survive. That's more than you ever did. She walked toward the exit, Marcus beside her. At the door, she paused, looked back. David was slumped in his chair, broken and small. Goodbye, David, Emma said. I hope your cell is as lonely as you made me feel. They left him there, surrounded by empty tables and his own destruction. In the car, Emma exhaled slowly. Vincent pulled into traffic. How do you feel? Marcus asked. Free, Emma said. Finally free. Marcus took her hand, squeezed gently. It wasn't romantic exactly, it was acknowledgement, partnership, respect. What happens now? Emma asked. Now, Marcus said, we finish this. David's arrested tomorrow morning. Full prosecution, no deals. Castellano's gone, which means my territory's secure. He looked at her. And you decide what you want to do next. Emma had been thinking about that, about her future, about the woman she'd become, about the skills she'd rediscovered. I want to work for you, she said. Officially, not just analyzing records. I want in. Your world, your business, all of it. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You understand what you're asking? I do, Emma said. I'm good at this. The numbers, the strategy, seeing patterns, and I'm tired of playing by rules designed to keep women like me trapped. She met his eyes. Teach me. Use me. I'll prove I'm worth it. Marcus smiled slowly. Dangerous words, Emma Hayes. I'm a dangerous woman now, Emma replied. You made sure of that. They drove through the city, past lights and traffic, toward futures neither of them had planned but both were willing to build. Emma had escaped her cage. Now she was becoming something else entirely, and God help anyone who underestimated her again. The arrest happened at dawn. Emma watched from Marcus's office, surveillance footage showing NYPD and FBI agents surrounding David's brownstone in Brooklyn Heights. He came out in handcuffs, still in pajamas, screaming about lawyers and rights and mistakes. No mistakes, Marcus said beside her. Just consequences. Emma felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pity. Just closure. The charges were extensive. Money laundering, facilitating illegal transactions, racketeering. Emma's testimony would bury him. The evidence she'd provided was ironclad. David Hayes was done. Your turn, Marcus said, gesturing to the papers on his desk. Make it official. Emma signed the divorce papers. Her signature bold and clear. 3 years of marriage ended with black ink on white paper. Simple. Clean. Sophia appeared in the doorway. We have a problem. Emma's stomach clenched. What kind of problem? The kind where Richard Castellano decides leaving New York isn't enough. Sophia said, he wants revenge. Specifically, he wants Emma. Marcus stood immediately. Details. Sophia pulled up her phone. Our contact in Miami says Castellano's sending people. 3-man team, professionals. They'll be here tomorrow. For me? Emma's voice was steady despite the fear creeping up her spine. Why? Because you destroyed his New York operation, Marcus said grimly. Because you're the reason he had to run. He looked at Sophia. Locations? We're tracking them, Sophia confirmed. But Marcus, they're good. Really good. Then we be better, Marcus said. He turned to Emma. You're staying with me. 24/7 protection until this is handled. Emma wanted to argue, to say she could take care of herself, but she'd learned in the past month that pride was dangerous. Survival mattered more. Okay, she said. The next 48 hours were tense. Emma moved into Marcus's penthouse, a space she'd never seen before. It was beautiful and impersonal, like the Brooklyn apartment. Luxury without warmth. Marcus worked from home, phones constantly ringing, people coming and going. Emma watched, learning. This was his world, the machinery underneath legitimate society. It was brutal and efficient and somehow honest in its dishonesty. She belonged here. The realization surprised her. The attack came on the third night. Emma was reading in Marcus's library when the power cut out. Emergency lights kicked on, casting everything in red. "Stay down." Marcus appeared from nowhere, gun in hand. Sophia, Vincent, and 3 other security personnel materialized like ghosts. Emma crouched behind the leather couch, heart hammering. This was real, this was happening. Gunshots, shouting, the sound of breaking glass. Marcus was moving through the penthouse like he'd trained for this his entire life, which, Emma realized, he probably had. This wasn't his first attack, wouldn't be his last. The fighting lasted 6 minutes. 6 minutes that felt like hours. Then silence. "Clear," Vincent's voice called. Emma stood on shaking legs. Marcus was by the window, looking at something on the floor. When Emma approached, she saw a body. One of Castellano's men, unconscious or dead. She couldn't tell. "Is it over?" she asked. "For tonight," Marcus said. He looked at her and his expression was intense. "Emma, you need to make a choice." "What choice?" "This life. What I do. It comes with consequences. Attacks like this. Danger. Violence. If you want in, really in, you need to understand what that means." Emma looked at the broken window, the unconscious man, the weapons his security team carried so casually. "I understand," she said. "Do you?" Marcus moved closer. "Because once you're in, Emma, there's no going back. You become part of this world." "My world." He touched her face, gentle despite the violence surrounding them. "I can still get you out. New identity, new city, protection from a distance. You'd be safe. But alone," Emma finished. "Running forever." "Yes." Emma thought about the woman she'd been on that train 5 weeks ago. Broken, terrified, desperate. She thought about the woman she'd become. Strong, confident, dangerous. "I don't want safe," she said. "I want this. I want your world, your trust, your partnership." She met his eyes. "I want you." The admission hung between them. It wasn't just about business anymore. Hadn't been for a while. "Emma," Marcus warned, but she stepped closer, closing the distance. "I know what I'm asking," she said. "I know what it means, and I'm choosing it anyway." Marcus kissed her. It was nothing like she'd experienced with David. This was equal, powerful, honest. 2 people who'd found each other in impossible circumstances and decided to build something new. When they broke apart, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. "This is insane." "Probably," Emma agreed. "Do it anyway." Marcus smiled, genuine and warm. "All right. Welcome to the family, Emma Hayes." The cleanup took hours. Police came and went with minimal questions. Money changed hands. Emma watched it all, understanding now how Marcus's world really worked. Power wasn't about strength. It was about connections, leverage, knowing who to protect and who to destroy. She could do this. She would do this. The next morning, Emma woke in Marcus's bed, sunlight streaming through the repaired windows. He was already up on the phone conducting business. She watched him work. This man who'd saved her and changed her and somehow become hers. "Castellano's going to keep coming," she said when he hung up. "Probably," Marcus agreed. "Men like him don't forgive." He looked at her. "Which is why we're going to Miami." Emma sat up. "We're what?" "Going on offense," Marcus said. "You wanted in. This is what in looks like. We're going to Florida and we're going to end this. Permanently." Emma's pulse raced. "When do we leave?" "Tonight," Marcus said. "Pack light. This won't take long." Emma dressed quickly, her mind already strategizing. Castellano had vulnerabilities. Emma had seen them in the records she'd analyzed. She knew his weak points, his dependencies, where to apply pressure. They were going to war, and Emma was ready. At the airport, Marcus's private jet waited. Small, luxurious, equipped with technology Emma didn't recognize. Sophia was already on board, along with Vincent and 2 other security personnel Emma hadn't met. "This is Emma," Marcus announced. "She's lead strategy on this operation." Everyone looked at her with varying degrees of skepticism. Emma ignored it. She'd prove herself. During the flight, Emma laid out her plan. Castellano's empire ran through 3 key businesses, a shipping company, a tech firm, and a restaurant chain, all fronts for laundering money and moving product. "We hit all 3 simultaneously," Emma said, pulling up documentation on her laptop. "Here's how." She talked for 30 minutes. Marcus listened, occasionally asking questions. By the end, He was smiling. "You're brilliant," he said. "Absolutely brilliant." "I learned from the best," Emma replied, but she was looking at Sophia, who smiled back. "This could work," Sophia said. "It's risky, but it could work." "Then let's do it," Marcus said. They landed in Miami at sunset. The air was warm, humid, different from New York's sharp cold. Emma felt like she was entering new territory, which she was. The operation launched at midnight. Sophia coordinated from their hotel, pulling strings Emma hadn't known existed. Vincent led the physical teams, and Emma orchestrated everything, watching it unfold like a symphony of destruction. By dawn, Castellanos' shipping company had been raided by federal agents who'd received anonymous tips about smuggling. His tech firm's servers had been wiped, years of records gone, and his restaurant chain was shut down for health code violations that appeared out of nowhere. Richard Castellanos' empire crumbled in 6 hours. He called Marcus at noon. "What do you want?" Castellanos' voice was defeated. "Out," Marcus said simply. "Completely out. Sell everything. Leave Florida. If I hear you've relocated anywhere in the continental US, we do this again." Silence. Then, "Fine. And Emma," Marcus continued, "is off limits. Forever. Spread the word. She's protected." "Understood," Castellanos said and hung up. It was over. Emma sat on the hotel balcony, watching Miami stretch out below. They'd won. Actually won. Marcus joined her, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. To victory. Emma clinked her glass against his. To partnership. They drank, and Emma thought about the last 6 weeks. The train, the fear, the transformation. She'd gone from prisoner to player, from victim to victor. "What now?" she asked. "Now," Marcus said, "we go home, build something real." His hand found hers. Together. Emma leaned into him, feeling safe and powerful, and finally free. She'd boarded that train expecting nothing but escape. Instead, she'd found everything. Freedom, purpose, love, and God help anyone who tried to take it from her again. 6 months later, Emma stood in her new office on the 32nd floor of Marcus's headquarters in Manhattan. Below, the city sprawled in every direction, alive and indifferent. "Hayes," Sophia called from the doorway. "The Peretti meeting's in 10. Emma grabbed her tablet. On my way. She'd kept her maiden name, reclaimed it officially after the divorce finalized. Emma Hayes, Director of Strategy for Dante Enterprises. It was legitimate, mostly. The company handled real estate, investment portfolios, security consulting. Nothing illegal on paper. Everything else happened underneath. Emma had learned the business quickly, her mind perfect for the work. She identified opportunities, assessed risks, developed strategies that increased profits and minimized exposure. Marcus had been right. She was exceptional. But more than that, she'd found purpose. The Peretti meeting went smoothly. Emma negotiated terms that benefited both parties, established connections that would prove valuable later. Marcus watched from his position at the table's head, pride clear in his eyes. They were partners in every sense. Business, personal, life. After the meeting, Emma returned to her office to find David's lawyer waiting. "Ms. Hayes," the lawyer said, standing. "Thank you for seeing me." Emma gestured for him to sit. She didn't offer coffee. "What do you want?" "My client, David Hayes, is seeking to appeal his conviction." The lawyer pulled out papers. "He believes you provided false testimony, that you were coerced." Emma smiled, cold. "David serving 15 years for money laundering and racketeering. He tried to negotiate, threatened to expose Castellanos' organization, even attempted to implicate me. But Marcus ensured every witness David had suddenly developed memory problems, and every deal he was offered mysteriously fell through. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and he had no leverage left." She leaned forward. "My testimony was simply the final piece. He claims you fabricated evidence. Then he should prove it in court," Emma said. "But we both know he can't, because everything I testified to was true." She stood, ending the meeting. David made his choices. Now he lives with the consequences. The lawyer left, defeated. Emma watched him go, feeling nothing. David was the past, dead and buried. Marcus appeared in her doorway. "Trouble?" "Nothing I can't handle," Emma said. He entered, closed the door, pulled her close. "I believe you." They kissed, and Emma marveled at how different this was from everything that came before. Marcus was dangerous, yes. His world was brutal, but he treated her as an equal, valued her mind, trusted her judgment. They'd built something real. That evening they hosted a dinner at the penthouse. Sophia, Vincent, key members of their organization. It was celebration and business, the way everything in their world blended together. Emma moved through the crowd, confident and poised. She wore Valentino, carried herself like she'd been born to this, and in a way she had been. She just needed to find her way here. Later, when everyone had gone, Emma and Marcus stood on the terrace, the city glittering below. "Do you ever regret it?" Emma asked. "Taking me in that night?" Marcus pulled her against him. "Never. You're the best decision I've ever made." Emma smiled. "Even though I'm trouble. Especially because you're trouble," Marcus said. He kissed her temple. "You made everything better, sharper, more interesting." Emma turned in his arms. "I love you." The words still felt new, but right. "True. I love you too," Marcus said. "My brilliant, dangerous, perfect partner." They stood there, wrapped in each other, as the city hummed around them. Emma thought about that night on the train 6 months ago. The fear, the desperation, the woman she'd been. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, someone who'd survived hell and built heaven from the ashes. Emma Hayes had been a prisoner, then a refugee, then a weapon. Now she was something else entirely. Free, and she'd never let anyone cage her again. The city lights blurred below as Marcus led her inside, toward their bedroom, toward their future. Emma followed willingly, gratefully. She'd boarded a train to nowhere and found everything. Sometimes salvation came from the most unexpected places. Sometimes the dangerous man turned out to be the safe choice, and sometimes, just sometimes, the broken girl became the queen. Emma had started with $37 and broken ribs. She'd ended with an empire. Not bad for a woman everyone underestimated. Not bad at all. 3 months later, Emma sat across from a woman at a coffee shop in Brooklyn. The woman was thin, bruised, terrified, just like Emma had been. "I don't know where else to go," the woman whispered. "He's going to kill me." Emma handed her an envelope. Inside, cash, a burner phone, an address. "This will get you somewhere safe. People who will help." The woman stared at the envelope. "Why are you helping me?" Emma thought about Marcus, about that night on the train, about the choice that changed everything. "Because someone helped me once," Emma said. "Now I pay it forward." The woman left with hope in her eyes. Emma watched her go, then texted Marcus. Another one saved. His response came immediately. "That's my girl." Emma smiled. She'd built a network, quietly and carefully. Safe houses for women escaping abuse, resources, protection, using Marcus's organization for good. He supported it completely, called it her side project. Emma called it justice. She'd been a victim, then a survivor, now a savior. The transformation was complete. Emma Hayes stood, gathered her things and walked into the Brooklyn afternoon. The city was alive around her, full of possibility and danger and hope. She was home, finally, truly home, and she'd never been more powerful in her life. If this story touched your heart in any way, leave your like and let me know where you're watching from. New stories coming soon. Until next time.